Now let's look at Summatry. Summatry exists to do several different ways of summarizing the contents of a set of folders. So to choose a set of folders, we can use browse, go off and find a folder, add it to the list. If I go to add a subfolder of the same location, I get a warning and a refusal, essentially, that it would not do that, because that would cause a clash, and we don't want the program sort of tripping over its own toes. I can turn off checkers added, and it will then let me add that to the list. I can check that there is a clash or not by clicking on check clashes, and yes, it tells me that there is a clash. And I could resolve that, for example, by choosing one of the folders in the list and clicking remove to take it out of the list. And if I now check clashes, we don't get a dialog, we just get an indication on the right hand side, all good, no clashes in the Summatry list. Normally we would leave this back on again. Or we can clear all of the paths by clicking clear. I'm going to go back and go up a folder to documents, for example, add that to the list. Now there are 3 different summaries that can be generated for the sets of files in the list. Actually, I might add some more. Let's go add pictures, add those to the list. There's a general summary, which is really the one that the section is named for. This is called the Summatry summary, really. Then there's 2 other checks, so we'll do those checks first. One is we'll go to the bottom one, it'll do count by file name extensions. So we click on run process, it'll sit and do that. It's done it. The results have gone into the results tab, and here we have a summary of the different file extensions in the paths that we looked at. And not surprisingly, because I added the pictures folder, there's lots of pictures there, and you can see they're mostly .jpg. It is doing this case sensitive, so you can see we had 11,000 .jpgs. The next most common was .txt. Those are probably in the documents path, 1,000 of those. Then .jpg in all uppercase, 1,212 of those. No, 1,202 of those, etc. All the way down to, and in fact there were more than the number that's shown in the list here. The full list got written out to a file, which we could then go and look at. Go back to Summatry. We can go checking those paths for any file names that might be problematic for DOS and Windows use. So we can do run process, the results, and it found one file, one screenshot there. Looks like it was for some reason a Facebook screenshot, and I'm sure that the problem here will be that it's got colons in the name. So it's basically saying if you were to try and copy this file off to a Windows or DOS system, that would cause a problem. It would actually be probably not allowed to be copied if you tried it. Let's come back to Summatry. Now, the general Summatry. What does this do? Now, how does that work? Well, I just clicked run process and it's done it. What is it going to show us? It's a fairly complicated matter, really. At the moment, this is a custom idea being worked on. The Summatry that it has found, it's kind of showed us here where it went looking, and it decides what's notable in the paths, really. So it tries to summarize which are the folders that have most of the content at the moment. Very much an idea in working, basically suggesting here that of my pictures ones, most of the pictures are in photos, most of the photos are in these 2 particular folders of for my Galaxy phone. For each of these it tells me what depth is that folder at. This is at depth 3 from the starting point, how many subfolders are in that. total number of files in that folder, total number of directories in that folder, total size of the files in that folder, 6 gigabytes in that folder, 6.3 gigabytes in this one. Note that some of these are nested within the others, so those are two subfolders of the photos folder, and its total size is 15 gigabytes. So it's a hybrid sort of thing we're being shown here. We kind of got shown that there were 20 gigabytes of files in the pictures folder, and of that 15 gigabytes are in the photos, and of that the big ones are these two ones. We can also see there's quite some amount of files in a clearing folder here, and then within the clearing one it's telling us what's the most significant in that. So it's an idea still being worked on. The idea is that it would tell you what a person would tell you if you ask them, I don't know what's in all this in these folders, tell me what's there. And that's the idea of what the program will do. There's likely to become much more settings as this idea gets evolved. At the moment it's not being actively developed as other things are being worked on.